Welcome everybody to Project You, Project Me, the FTG guide to self-belief and self-coaching. Why not come along and listen to people like you, people like me, leaving legacies for your future? Fantastic, and welcome, Jono, to the Project You, Project Me podcast. Jono, it's great to see you. And I know we've just had a bit of a conversation about the fact that I can't call you John, and because you don't want to be named after me or something like that. But Jono, it is. But how are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, very well. I've had a good couple of weeks just recently. So yeah, very
Yeah,
good.
fantastic. And we're going to hear a little bit about that today. And it's great to hear about your success. And I'm sure everyone's going to be really interested. But first of all, tell me a little about yourself. When did you join and who did you serve with and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I joined the RAF back in August 2001. So I'm leaving in August of this year. So that'll be 22 years done. It's actually 22 years and 1 day. So yeah, I just thought I'd get that extra day in there. Um, Yeah, I joined as an avionics engineer. So I've worked on a few different platform types. I worked at a few different RAF stations and a few other MOD establishments as well. So it's yeah, I've had a relatively diverse career. Probably not the usual path that a lot of people within my trade would take as well. So
Yeah.
it's been good.
Yeah. Well, some people will probably find this podcast a little bit strange, with me talking to someone from the RAF, being staunch army and all that kind of stuff. But, joking apart, it's nice to have all different services on here, people who have been through service, people who might have left after 4 years, or even people who have never been through service, because the advice that people can give through transition happens in all different shapes and sizes. Which brings us nicely on to a little bit of transition, actually. And how is your transition going? I know we're going to go into a bit of a question in a minute of what you're doing next, but when did you start your transition? How early did you start, or did you not? Did you sleepwalk, or did you actually have a plan?
Um, so as far as my sort of dedicated transition time went, I submitted my notice literally 12 months to the day before my 22 point.
Right.
So it was, pretty much bang on 21 years that I'd served. I just, I wanted to give myself that 12-month window. So I did it at the earliest opportunity. But realistically, I've always known that I was going to be making that decision around about this sort of time. And it was one of those, am I going to leave or am I
Yeah.
going to stay in forever?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, from even a very early age of my career, I have always been developing myself. I've pretty much
Mm.
been in some form of education. I'd probably say for the last 15 years. So I've always been trying to develop myself throughout my career, just to give me that opportunity. Because at the end of the day, when I joined up, I thought I'll be in for as long as the RFL have me. If I can get a Zimmer frame issued from stores, I'll dodder around station doing something. But things change. Life changes.
Yeah.
Our plans change. Sometimes we're forced out of the door when we don't want to. So
Mm.
this is why I was always, like I say, from a very early age, always sort of developing myself and trying to put myself in a good position. But yeah, I say, going back to the original question, I've been in resettlement since August, and that's where I've sort of focused my time
Mm.
with resettlement.
It's interesting to hear you talk about education and putting yourself in the right place. We interviewed Andy last week, and Andy had the same piece halfway through the podcast as well. He found he thought that his educational piece had made a massive big difference to him. It actually allowed him to go down the routes that he wanted to go down, and which brings us again nicely on to the next question. And we hear successes in the air. Um, and that you've been successful. Don't know whether you can speak too much about that, but I did see a post about it just this week. And that success is one thing. So I'm happy if you can tell us about what that is. But also, has that education got you into that position?
It's certainly helped. Yeah, it's definitely helped. I think it's added to my profile. And you know that education isn't for everybody. Not everyone is cut out to do it. And you know, we do talk a lot about skills and experience and knowledge and things like that. And you know, a lot of people, a lot of employers are looking for that. You know, the education is just another. You know, it might just tip you over the scale if you've got two people who
Yeah.
on paper are the same, but this person comes with a a degree or HNC in something. Um, so yeah, and that was always my sort of thinking was, this isn't the thing that's going to lead me to a particular job, but it might just make me a little bit more competitive to my peers. Um, yeah, I mean the job itself, and this is some of the things that I'm going to talk about towards the end. Yeah, there wasn't actually even a vacancy. It was yeah, I was in Tesco selling poppies. I was manning the British Legion stand within Tesco selling poppies. Yeah, and a bloke walks in, gives me his business card, and just says, "Get in touch with me." So I obviously looked at it. I knew the company. I'd experience of them previously, but there's the sort of thoughts in my head of I know where this conversation's sort of going, but I'll get in touch with him anyway. So yeah, I went and had a coffee with him, and the conversation went in a completely different way to what I'd anticipated, and he was basically wanting me to take over from him.
Wow.
So it was yeah, I was a little bit shocked. I have to admit, I sort of sat there and thought, you're essentially recruiting me to take over from you. But he's come to this stage in his life where he just wants to retire now, and take a bit of a back seat effectively, and yeah, enjoy himself while he's still young enough to be able to do so.
Yeah. Well, opportunity comes in every shape and size, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I suppose the power of the network, it's a kind of different way of networking in many, many ways, but congratulations and all that. And, let's hope that, that goes all nice and smoothly. And I'm sure it will, because people with your quality are always going to succeed, in the future. And who knows where that's going to lead. You might actually own that business in the future. Got no doubt.
Yeah,
But
who knows?
absolutely. Well, the Project You, Project Me piece is something that we've developed with Andy, as everybody knows, and it's basically there to try and help that self belief. That's kind of that it's a bit of a self guide. It's not full of adverts and all the usual stuff you find in magazines. It's actually full of decent stuff, and that people can take away and actually use certain models to progress. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that document, I know it's obviously going to evolve over time. You've mentioned that yourself.
Yeah,
I think the information that you've got there is going to be a significant help to people. Maybe not every person is going to use it in its entirety. There might just be little bits that people will use, and
yeah,
someone will use different parts of it to others. But I think a lot of it, it's going to help them understand who they are, understand their strengths, understand where they probably need to develop themselves a little bit better. Um, yeah, I think it's going to be a really good um, tool for people to understand, who they are, and the sort of direction that they need to go in. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it, like I say, evolve over time. But as it stands now, a very useful document, definitely.
yeah. We've just made it a lot easier to download as well. So when you go onto the website now and you click on it, you down as soon as you press on it, it turns into a PDF that's adjustable straight to your laptop and things like that. So it's I think it'll be a great document. It's at 38 pages at the minute. I think that could be extended over time to to include all kinds of different things that are just going to help in somebody's transition. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
but I suppose, you've been through transition now. You had your plan. You worked it out how you worked it out. You got your maybe your bit of network and your bit of luck at the end. We all need that luck to finally get into that job and things like that. Somebody's got to like us at the end of the day. People buy people. But if you had three golden pieces, three golden nuggets that you could say to a service leaver, perhaps, here's my nuggets. It's been a success for me. Here you go. What would they be?
So I've listened to the podcast that you did with Andy, and some of the things that Andy brought out was very similar to what I was going to say. So I've made sure that what I wanted to bring was different, and obviously still supporting exactly what Andy said. For me, what I would tell everybody is to plan early and start early. And again, that version of early is obviously going to be unique to the individual. And I was quite fortunate. I had my own property, which I've lived in for some length of time, so that was something that I didn't need to worry about. But for many people, they will have lived, on camp, in married quarters and things like that. So relocating your family, you need to think about where you're going to be living. That needs to start, a couple of years before you're leaving, realistically, because it's not an easy thing buying a house, and it's very stressful. And the last thing you need is all that stress at the same time as you doing resettlement courses and trying to hand back uniform and things like that. It's a stressful time. So plan early, and start as early as you can. Again, if you're looking to use any of the sort of free degree schemes and things like that, if you're looking to do a degree because you want some education, you're looking at 2 to 3 years for that. So again, you don't want to be doing dissertations at the same time as moving house and handing uniform back and all that sort of stuff. So that's the first one for me. The other thing is obviously do your research. Do your research on the industry that you're interested in, the sort of job roles, what qualifications are they looking for, and research the company as well. Go and have a look. A lot of these places will be quite happy to welcome you in and host you for a few hours. So go and have a look. See what the place is like. There's been quite a few people sort of saying, and your first job is not going to be your forever job. I disagree to an extent, because I think if you put the research in and you put the time in, you can make that better informed decision. You might not be there for 20 plus years like a lot of people will have done within the military, but nobody was saying to people when you joined the service, or you're not going to cut it, are you? You're only going to do 6 months or something. So don't have that mindset when you're going into a new employment. Go there thinking, yeah, this is where I'm going to be for the next few years. And if you've done the research, there's no reason why that shouldn't happen. And lastly, again, sort of because of my own experience and how things have worked out for me, take those opportunities. If somebody says, let's have a chat, take them up on it, because you genuinely don't know where that's going to end. Even if you have this preconceived idea about what the conversation is going to be, you know what? It might be the best half an hour, a virtual coffee, whatever it is. Just take that opportunity, speak to those people. It could completely change your life. And to be honest with you, I think it's done exactly that for me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that last point there. Taking an opportunity, having the ability to think outside the box. I'm going to have this coffee. This could be something for me. It might not be, because every conversation people say is an interview, and I actually believe that. Your second point was really interesting there, just to finish on having longer career in your first job. I absolutely agree with you. Of course, people are going to go into the wrong jobs and things like that. That's going to happen in any arena, things like that. But what we're trying to provide the FTG is stability. It's exactly what you're talking about. One of the problems I had when I left was stability. I wasn't stable because I was moving from job to job. I didn't know who I was, where I was supposed to be. I longed for that stability. I would have loved a job for the first 3 years. I've been doing what I'm doing now for 4 years, and everything's just working out nice and fine. So if we can create that for everybody, and everybody who leaves has at least that 12, 24, 36 months, then all of a sudden, stability into your future is going to be a lot easier. Moving jobs and messing around, that kind of stuff, going into wrong jobs, is not where service people need to be.
No, completely. And new opportunities will come up. So you
Of
may
course.
be in a job for 2 years and you may think, "Do you know what, I'll spend the next 20 here."
Mm,
But things happen, you meet new people, your network expands and a better opportunity comes up. But yeah, like I say, a lot of it does come down to that research, and it should be exactly the same
mm.
as people move through their careers and that, just keep that same mindset, research the company itself and make sure that, that the culture is going to fit for you. Because like I say, the jobs that we have are a massive part of our life. It's like a relationship, with a partner. If it doesn't work, it's not going to last. So, make sure that you do your research.
And some of the advice you've given there is absolutely brilliant. And the great thing about it is it's current. Currency in what we're doing. Some people will say, John, you've been out for 6 years, you're not current. Well, actually bringing people like yourself on, and people like Andy who've been out for a couple of years, it actually gives, a nice kind of balance to where everybody is. So I know that, John, I know that you're busy guy, and I know that, you know, you've got a very successful future. I would like to congratulate you on behalf of everybody who watches this, the FTG and all of those service leavers and spouses, blue light, everybody who watches this. And we all congratulate you on getting your job and wish you all the best for the future, mate. Thanks very
No,
much for
thank you.
coming today. Leaving a legacy, which is what you're doing, is what we want everybody to do. Because if we can do this with 15,000 people every year, that 15,000 soon starts to grow.
Yeah, indeed. And if anybody does want to connect with me, chat with me, I'm more than happy to provide that advice and assistance and give my sort of take on resettlement. It's just my advice. Again, it might not be right for the individual, but I'm happy to help anybody.
Absolutely, mate. And I would take you up on that every single day of the week. Thanks a lot, mate.
Cool. Thank
Have a
you.
great weekend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Cheers, John. Take
Stay
care.
safe now. Bye bye. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's Project You, Project Me. Thanks for listening in. But remember, we have a Project You, Project Me guide to self-coaching, to self-belief, and it can all be downloaded on our website. We also do the 5 fundamentals: CVs, professional writing. We do brand, we do CPD, making sure you're going in the right direction. We're also looking at your elevation, giving you 2 times the chance to set up your interviews before your first actual interview. And also we look at your financial plan, massively important for your future, for you and your family. So why not come along? Have a look. What you got to lose? It's all free. Stay safe.